Hello and welcome back to the Motivating Force. Hope you guys are having a beautiful Monday today. Joining me as always, we have host Sway, an aspiring Marine Corps officer who's currently finishing up ROTC and his bachelor's in the criminal justice field. And myself, Justin, a motivational speaker who's always more than excited to share all of our wonderful ideas with you guys. Today, we're going to be bringing in a different mix to the law of attraction, something about it that is rarely talked about, and I think it could be enlightening for you guys if you guys are having a hard time actualizing the law of attraction.
Now, you see, I'm looking forward to this in great detail because we've talked about this a lot, and getting another spin on it, another take on it is always beneficial when people are interested on something, because then it helps grow their knowledge on the topic itself.
So jumping into it here, we have one specific principle that I feel is always overlooked whenever information is giving out about the law of attraction, and it's something that we actually didn't even talk about originally either. So bear with me, we are going to go through some things that you guys probably already know, but we have to set a good foundation, of course, for what we're getting into. And what we're going to be talking about today is going all in. So going all in will always be successful for you. And sometimes that's not a good thing. If you doubt yourself, if you're worried about the outcomes, if your anxiety is high and you spend more time focusing on that than the task at hand, then whatever you're thinking about is going to work. It is going to be successful. So if you're attracting the anxiety, if you're attracting the negative emotion out of any situation, you will be successful in attaining those things. And it's not going to look good for you. And this is why a lot of people have a hard time with the law of attraction, because they think it's something that they can just mix in with other principles, when really it's a very fundamental idea that needs to be exercised in the fullest extent.
I mean, I was going to make a quick joke and say how like going all into depression, but then you kind of cut me off before I could even say anything by cutting that like whole option out of the table. But no, that's 100% right. When you're focusing on trying to better your life, and like you said, even just doing the tasks at hand and focusing in 100%, that's the key factor when trying to implement the law of attraction into your life. You can't just kind of like half-ass it. You have to fully dive into it, have to fully want it, and it has to be like it's called the law of attraction, but then it makes people think like it just has to be for positivity and happiness and, you know, rainbows and smiley faces everywhere. But it's realistic things that you want to attract into your life. You know, it could be a wide range of things. It doesn't have to be just positivity. Obviously, that's the end goal that you're going to get from achieving those things. But don't look at it as this like generic stereotype of having to be like rainbows and smiles.
Right, that's where people hit the mark. I was recently listening to the audiobook for The Secret and getting a little bored, okay, gonna admit it. So I'm going through the comment section, and that's what kind of sparked this conversation that I wanted to have with everybody, because a lot of the comments were reading exactly that. They're like, well, I don't get it. Like, this doesn't work because if I have all these negative thoughts going on, I'm attracting negativity, but obviously that's not what I want. So how do I attract that? Like, it doesn't make sense.
Like, how do you attract the positivity after you're in this cloud of negative?
Right. And they have this perception that because they're thinking negatively, that the law of attraction is this happy-go-lucky rainbows and sunshine thing, that those thoughts will just disappear, or that they won't attract negativity. It only works with positivity. No, it's a two-way street. It works with both. So if you have those negative thoughts, you have those anxieties going on, you end up attracting more of that. And then this works great for you in a not so great way for you. And, you know, this is why the majority of personal development starts off by fixing what goes on in your own head.
Real quick, not to go too far off track real quick. Backtracking. It is working. They're just proving themselves that it's working because they're just continuing the attraction of the negativity is what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, go on.
Yeah. And, you know, with the personal development side of it, you know, sure, the cold showers, the early mornings, you know, they help strengthen your resolve, give you the confidence and the resilience to, live a more structured life and be free in that regard. But none of it really is going to make that big of a difference if you don't change the way you think about everyday living, which is why this is so important and why people miss the mark with the law of attraction. You can't be a hard ass and make it through. You can't be stubborn and survive. You can't be hopeful and expect amazing results. The law of attraction is becoming more popular, and that's why I did want to retouch on this topic.
Not thanks to us or anything, but
No, definitely not thanks to
Damn
us.
it.
But maybe we're just attracting more people who are following the law of attraction because we are thinking about it more, right?
There we go.
So, hearing these comments or seeing these comments on The Secret, which is the fundamental book for the law of attraction, it really did spark this up. And, I just want to say, first and foremost, the law of attraction is law, okay? In that sense that, of course, not scientifically proven or anything, but it is seen as the law when it comes to that physiological side of things, because it will work for everyone, and it does work for you. It just attracts things that you might not be happy that it's attracting.
Yeah.
Therefore, you think it's not working. But again, it's not rainbows and sunshine. It's every single thing that goes on in your mind is what you're going to bring towards you.
We've said before that it's not like a scientific law, but what it really is more of like a, like you appreciate it like you appreciate the laws. You have to follow the laws that are in government the same way you have to follow the law of attraction if you want it to work. You want society to work, you have to follow the laws that are laid out, right? Now, laws of physics is something completely different because it's going to work regardless if you're trying to like go against it or not. But when you're respecting the law because you want it to work, that's when it's implemented like mentally, because you want to attract that mind state of attracting these better things in your life.
Yeah, and see, I'd even argue that point a little bit to say that the law of attraction does always work, which is why you can kind of view it more of like that scientific law, because regardless if you believe in it or not, or you're putting effort towards it or not, it's still fundamentally operating in the background. It's this principle, it's this understanding of what goes on in your mind will become your reality. And the only issue is people fill these desires, these motivations, and they load it full of anxiety, they load it full of doubt,
trauma, their childhood trauma and all that they've raised on. Yeah.
All kinds of different things. And then they get this mixed bag, and they attract that mixed bag, and they get all these different signals, and then they're wondering, they could just feel lost from it. So that's why this Monday, I just wanted you guys to know that it does take going all in. It's a form of blind faith, and it can be so ridiculous that when you do get to a point that you almost don't even want to tell people about your vision or goals.
I mean, that's great going on last week's episode, because I talked about that, of not like giving out all of the things that you have in mind for yourself to other people, because most often than not, they're gonna, break it down. They're gonna trash it. They're gonna ruin your positive mindset that you have for your aspirations, and they're really just gonna like knock you down. It's gonna kill the motivation that you have for what you want to achieve.
Yeah, and something we've talked about before too is how lying to yourself doesn't work. So not only can other people plant these seeds in your head, but you can be planting those seeds yourself, and then trying to give yourself this fake image of like, no, I'm going all in, I'm all for it, I'm all about it. And you already know what's going on in the back of your mind. And then you expect it to work. And that's not what's going to happen for you.
Yeah, if you're letting the doubt creep in, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
I'm going to go off of a pyramid here that most people should be familiar of. I mean, I don't know. I learned about it in high school, so I don't know. But it's Maslow's hierarchy, okay? And you start at the base of the pyramid with basic needs. What do humans need physiologically? Okay, that's what Maslow's hierarchy is all about, is your physiological psychology, I guess, right?
Yeah. To survive, or just need in general?
Basic needs, so just survival, right?
Okay.
You have food, water, shelter, okay? And then you move up the list. The next smaller step on the pyramid is your safety needs. So do you feel secure? Do you feel threatened all the time? What's your environment like? Okay, moving up on the list is relationship needs. Do you have friends and family you can trust? Do you have people you can confide in? Do you have that support group in your life? And then moving up on the pyramid again, we have the esteem needs. So this is your like workplace satisfaction. This is how you feel about yourself, what you think you can accomplish, what you have accomplished, how all that ties in with all of your other needs. And then finally, at the very, very top of this pyramid, it's self-actualization. And this is drastically different from all of your other needs. So this self-actualization at the very top means that you need to master all these other aspects of your life first, and then self-actualization is being able to see what you are truly capable of achieving. And once you get to that point, you need to get after that with relentless tenacity to be able to release your full potential and become the person you want to be and strive towards the success and all the goals that you desire to accomplish in your life.
So it's almost like hand in hand with the building of one's character first before you start working on all the other character traits. You have to have the fundamentals of the bottom half of the pyramid before you start focusing on the self-actualization.
Yeah, and unfortunately with this, it's a mastery of everything else first. So with Maslow's hierarchy, getting to self-actualization is something that in the psychological realm isn't really seen in people until usually the youngest age is about 35.
Yeah.
Because of course you can master some of these other steps pretty quickly, right? You know, you can get through your basic needs, you can get through your safety needs with minimal effort, really. You know, relationship needs take a while to build, okay? Your esteem needs are even more of a challenge because now you're getting outside of things that you control in a way, right?
Yeah.
So talking about the job, you know, the workplace, talking about your personal satisfaction and changing the way that you do things in life and getting the feeling that you are contributing to the world.
Yeah.
You mean something.
Or how many times do you change, like your appearance, the things you do, your hobbies, all throughout your adolescence? Like you have to reach a point of maturity and understanding of what you are able to contribute to the world before you can start making the right goals for yourself. Like you have to hit a certain point where all the changing and fluctuating in your life choices gets to like a halt, basically. Once it gets like to a narrow line instead of this broad term of what does it mean to be human, I'm still trying to learn what I am. And then at that point is when you start to self-actualize and set out a path for your life.
Yeah, and that's the really tricky part because all these other steps here, they're kind of used in a way that's like a checkbox, pretty much, right? But self-actualization isn't a checkbox that you mark off. And with it being the final thing at the top of the pyramid, it's the next step.
It's a continual next step.
Metaphorically speaking, right? So you're not going to be there to checkbox anything off. What you're doing is you now have to go back and reevaluate everything. You have to compare everything, all these things, and find it within yourself. And then take the next step to move forward to self-actualization, which is that overbearing confidence in who you are and what you're capable of achieving in life. And only then, when you can truly self-actualize, you're removing all doubt, you're removing all anxiety, you know what you're capable of and what you can do, and you're going to attract the hell out of that.
And imagine trying to tell a 13-year-old to like a 20-year-old to have that level of confidence in being certain of what they want to do and who they are. That's why it's a great point that process usually starts around 30 to 35.
Yeah.
Because there's no way a 13-year-old or a 20-year-old even is going to have that level of confidence in who they are.
Correct. And another piece of information that's interestingly tied into that is when people start their second careers. It's usually around 32. So you get what you get out of high school, or as soon as you start entering the workforce, you have all these ideas about how the world works. You're a kid, you don't know anything, trust me. And you're kind of going off of the things you like, the things you're interested in. You start making money doing it. You're like, this is great. You hit that point in life where you're like, okay, this isn't fulfilling. I'm not getting where I need to get. And it's usually around 32 that people make that secondary career change. And they shift into what they know they're capable of doing, what they're interested in doing. And they have a little bit more of that freedom to understand of how money flows, and it comes and goes in different forms. So they're able to make those different steps and do these drastic changes. And then with that being right around 32, and then self-actualizing hitting as young really as 35, do you kind of see the connection I'm going at here?
Yeah.
It's building that confidence with yourself to know that you can make changes and not be afraid of it.
Well, remember, you're also saying that it's the youngest that it can hit. It's not saying that that's the line where it hits for everybody. So there's plenty of adults out there that are 35, 40, 50 years old. And I mean, you listening can be one of them, that you still have the mindset that you had when you were in high school, that you had the mindset when you were in your 20s, your 30s, and you're stuck in that. So it's up to you to, at least even just start reanalyzing the other traits now before you get to that point, and then start trying to strive for like the betterment of your life and trying to get to what's the next step in that pyramid.
Yeah, because that's the scary aspect, right? So, don't get me wrong, that is the earliest point where they kind of see where people hit this. Of course, people hit it younger. You have your anomalies and whatnot, but that's the general consensus, your average person, right? And at the same time, you have people who will never self-actualize in their life. They'll never get to experience that. And if you don't keep that in check, you don't keep your personal development game up, that next person could be you. And it's a scary thing, and it's a sad thing that some people out there will not have the confidence in themselves to make that leap of faith and move on to the next great thing for themselves.
Yeah, it's not just a sad thing, it's a very hard thing to do. Confidence for a lot of people in this day and age, in our society that we live in, is very difficult to obtain. So to find somebody or to come across the confidence in yourself, or like I said, and finding somebody who has that is amazing. Like being able to come across the confidence that it takes to get there is an amazing step to achieve, just to flat out say, because if you can get to that point, you're doing 10, 20, 30 times better than anybody else.
That's really all I have for as far as Maslow's hierarchy goes. So I am going to move away from that, because that's just one little key element there that I found really interesting when it comes to the law of attraction and how that can tie into it, because it's just basically another example of what level of confidence do you need? How much negativity do you have to remove in your life to quote unquote transcend? I feel like that kind of parallels with the law of attraction and that same level of what you're going to need. And for a lot of people who believe that the law of attraction is some woo-woo bullshit out there, then that's why I went to the psychological realm and we used Maslow's hierarchy. It's a thing that's studied on a regular basis. There's scientific research behind that. So that's kind of why I wanted to hit on that point, to kind of give a different viewpoint of that scenario.
Yeah. There's a lot of terms and a lot of different theories that they always sound like it's that woo-woo stuff, but if you put it in logical terms, if you put it in layman's terms even for other people, you can change so many opinions just by doing that alone.
It's almost a shame, really, that you kind of have to do that, because people have to understand, when it comes to, especially to philosophy and things like that, there's a lot of ambiguity to it, and there's a lot of concepts that can be explained in a way that aren't necessarily a real life thing, right? And you kind of make fun of it with your old English teacher when they're reading the poem, when they're like, oh, well, why are the curtains blue? It must mean something.
Yeah.
You're like, no, it doesn't mean anything.
Analyzing every little detail.
Yeah, and you can be so literal with it, but when you go through and you have more of that critical mindset when it comes to personal development, all what people are really trying to do is give you different examples until one of them relates to you.
Once it clicks is the end goal that we're trying to get to.
Right. And so you might hear some outlandish things, but it's really just different concepts that are, well, it's all the same concept, but it's using different objects, different ideologies, different, I guess fundamentals to kind of like create that mixed bag that matches your mixed bag.
Yeah, because remember, a lot of the times too, like I said at the beginning, we've talked about this in detail before, but the examples that I've talked about have been different than the angle you're hitting it at. And the angle I was talking about before probably didn't click to you because I wasn't speaking to you. I was speaking to the person that it actually clicked with. And then he's probably getting you to actually hit that light bulb, and it's actually going off for you. So then for the other people that understood what I was saying or clicked for them might not understand the logical examples that he's giving. So that's the importance of hitting different angles on what seems like it's the same topic.
Yeah, and ironically enough, I do have one more point to go into here. Really, it's two, but one that's going to seem a little more woo-woo, and then I'm going to hit that with a different perspective to give you guys more of that logical side of it. So the law of attraction, of course, as we're saying, it doesn't work when you doubt yourself. So here's the principle behind that. And here's the funny part, right? Your thoughts are real, especially the ones you think of more and more. That means the more real that they're going to become. And the more present those ideologies and concepts will be in the real world. And it's the more you will subconsciously seek those things. Speaking in terms of, your thoughts are real, again, on the literal side, people will be like, well, I think about owning this house. I think about owning this car. I think about having all this money, all these different things. That's not real. I don't have it, And again, it's back to the conceptual side of it. Your thoughts are real in the sense that you are capable of achieving the things that you think about.
No, that's great, because I was going to say for the money aspect, like if I were to constantly think about I need to I'm just thinking about being, let's say, a millionaire, right? Like that's what I think about all the time. Let's just use that as an example. I'm going to always think about that day to day. Like you said, it's not real in the fact that I'm not a millionaire, but it's real in the fact that I'm going to start trying to achieve that. I'm going to start thinking about different ways that I can become a millionaire. If I have to work more, if I have to start a business, if I have to cut some other people that are leeching my money out of me, like that's what's real about it. And that's what the law of attraction is doing, is making you strive for that. You're thinking about it more than somebody who's not thinking about a millionaire, because then they don't have those thoughts, the following thoughts that come along with thinking about becoming a millionaire.
Yeah, it brings you that one step closer. And what it's doing, why I say your thoughts are real like that, is because you're working with your consciousness, your consciousness is working with your subconsciousness at that point, because it's what you're preaching to yourself all the time, and your subconscious is going to get a little upset with you that you're over here preaching to yourself about being a millionaire, and you're like, well, you're not. So, well, what's the problem? What's wrong here? And your subconscious is arguably one of the most powerful human aspects that we have, because it sees the things that we don't see, and yet it still manages to tell us that one way or another. So the way I can put that logically for you guys is, if you think about the last time you got a bad feeling in your gut, when you walked into a store and something felt off, why is that? You have all these different elements that, all your senses are picking up on, and it just doesn't add up to you. And of course, when you get that bad feeling in your gut, it can turn out to be true. So imagine if you could harness that type of instinctual power, those sensory receptors, all the things you have that you don't even think about, and you can use that power so that way every time that the opportunities open up, the golden tickets appear, you can realize it ahead of time. Your subconscious can do that for you. And we need to learn how to utilize that power and take control of it, so that way we can take control of our lives.
I love it, because it makes it seem like we're going to become this like superhero when we're harnessing the power of being able to use our subconscious. But that's fantastic. And I mean, if that clicks for you too, become a superhero when it comes to the law of attraction. And then like a 2-for-1 here, realistically, if you want to strive to become a superhero, you could be our superhero. And then we can also get the results that we're trying to attract by getting you to like and subscribe to the page, to the video, share the videos also with your friends and family. Hopefully This episode has been worded in a way that some of your friends and family can finally get that light bulb to go off of understanding the law of attraction and how they can implement that fully in their lives by diving deep and going all in. Now, remember, we are on Anchor FM. The link is down in the description of the video. That means we are on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, wherever you listen to your podcast, we are there. Video only is on YouTube, and the videos do come out Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 a.m. EST.
And until next time, go on and get.